The EU, waiting, Bokuti EU state might be right. You see the problem why they struggle for state is a matter of procedure. It's a matter of methodology. If the MCC be say, for example, Salono invested in education, then Mark will read, I for don't argue them. If the MCC, for example, they say civil liberties not right, then I will just go to the Freedom House report. I will argue them. But if you put a report where they say, now that then tell me, if I don't just say yes, no, let's say, for example, if they be just write in the report, say, we will talk to some CSOs and some opposition. This is what they said. You see, say nobody, because it's called true. You don't talk and boku them say, you don't get CSOs and we don't come, we don't talk nowadays. You understand that? But when you put them, it appears if that is the national picture, which we not the problem.
How you position IGR position different from that of government in this case? Because government have the call for letting give proof of
there are many issues. There are many, just like for example, there are many times where radio democracy position can be opposition position. There are times where radio democracy position can be government position. You know, where you say people and say, and it different from where they talk saying, so Andrew say. You understand that? Where they talk, let me finish. Where they talk in statistical terms, where you talk say, now these Sierra Leoneans they say, you understand that? You get forget a rounded view of how Sierra Leoneans they say. If you talk to one section of the population, we agree about something, you reflect in the report, you don't go say so people and say.
They come now studio now for come talk to the Executive Director for Institute for Governance Reform and Lavalie. We go can tell we this morning what it mean if the people of Salone not trust the electoral process or electoral management body them we they in the country ahead of the 2023 elections. Again, good morning, Mr. Lavalie, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, listeners.
You listen to Mr. Coker say with regards this small signs them way according to Donde and the need for engage the citizens them. This come when after the EU follow-up reports, also they indict NEC, police and the judiciary where this don't cause some serious debate in the country. Follow you come first off talk about how this be and also what it mean if citizens they lost trust by them body there. Let me first go quickly to the report. We don't deal with that extensively now, but let me just go back to that report today because I believe one of also CSOs them way body like EU can engage in most of the thing them way they do. What do you make up of that report today first of all, that follow-up reports?
Thank you very much. It actually interesting. I find because normally at the area people in the debate the report without actually sharing the report. I would just want maybe for use a couple of minutes for that just share the reports because with people understand within the day in the report, then we will make their own decisions for themselves without somebody actually spin the positions. The EU will make 29 recommendations during the 2018 elections after the no observe. And waiting the report being talked about how to enhance the credibility, inclusiveness, and transparency in Sierra Leone's elections as we approach 2023. And where EU come now, because this mission will be for follow-up on whether then they implemented 29 recommendations, then realize say one part in 29 recommendations they don't fully implement them. The other one they don't implement half, they're not doing it for complete time. But you get 27 where they say they don't implement it, and out of that 27. You get 21 of them we require legal reform. And 9 of that 21 require legal reform. They actually need for change the constitution. So the recommendations, and by the way, they are recommendations. It means they will be taken by government. They will look at all of the actors, them, government, political parties, and will look now say, now so election will be law look into them. So 9 of them, and then they actually require we for change the laws of Sierra Leone. And the EU talks say, it's unclear because government be committing itself say, I for put money in the elections basket. So we then talk to the EMBs, election management bodies, especially NEC, it be unclear whether there has been progress in that. The EU notice say back, and this time very important, now this 9 don't lead to most of the conversation. they say there is a significant decrease in trust in the judiciary, in NEC, in PPRC. They not decrease trust in the police, especially through the conduct of the recent by-elections. Significant decrease in trust. That the way people believe their institutions, and that trust then decrease, especially because of the recent by-election. The EU again talk about the midterm census. They say the midterm census is unprecedented. When somebody say unprecedented, Pakri means say, one day happen. And he say, for use that data, they for change the electoral boundaries shortly before election, 2023 elections, it will be harmful for the political climate. The last two things we may summarize, then say, then talk about, say, Sierra Leone need for extract the voter register from the civil register, and for let them save time and money. That waiting NCRA, they do let them look at that data, they for extract the voter register. The other one, the way, when at the last one, where they talk, say, the powers of the Sierra Leone Constitution, then say for exercise and with restraint. The one day when they use the Sierra Leone Constitution, therefore exercise that powers with restraint in the spirit of democratic compromise and not winner take all. So that are the broad thing the way the EU say. We get different views about them. But first and foremost, I mean, why just watch on a headline? If I'm for you ask whether trust don't really lost in the electoral management bodies. Because if me talk say trust don't lost, another person say trust don't lost, it don't mean say trust don't lost. So you find, when you look, for example, the MCC report, if you look at other reports, you actually look at objectively verifiable indicators before you make that statement. So, and if I look from the onset, the European Union, they make a big contribution to Sierra Leone. And this thing on democratic governance, not just a small component of the support to Sierra Leone. When you look at what they do in education, what they do in infrastructure, it's really big. So now I make it finally government of Sierra Leone and the European Union, they actually look at this issue, we don't spark a lot of controversy, and let them see how they go look at them in the interest of with self. So the point where they make, when they say election management bodies, you get the PPRC, the NEC, the judiciary, the police. In fact, the Ministry of Finance now are election management bodies because they give money. If they not give money, elections not they be. And of course, civil society. If civil society not play a role for do oversight, so in fact, we don't begin to consider elections management, civil society as election management bodies. Then serve the neutrality, within a civil society. With neutrality, they go a long way for letting show how, whether election do itself. But Asma, quickly, if I now see how far Salon don't come, if you look at the 70s, the way election be done there, because normally Salon can just watch the situation, they don't even look back 5, 10, 20, 30 years and see how far they don't come so that they go celebrate. Like first time, then they beat opponents, go lock them up. Now both. Like that in the 70s. Then they take opponent in ballot box, go turn them inside other box. Then they say the election done. In fact, we've been getting what they call unopposed. I don't know if they're able unopposed now. Unopposed, then they suppress all without their own contest against a certain candidate. The contest. Then in the 70s, coming to the 90s now, like for example, the elections then way after the war, with the able double voting. And I believe say a lot of Sierra Leonean adults then, where they support political parties, they don't actually double vote. They go one side and go vote 2 to 10. The other thing that the way the judiciary, the arbitrary use, like in power like for overturn elected mandates. We see her in 2012 in the case of Ansula Anastana. We see her in 2018. The other thing back about 2018, now the use of a census for gerrymandering. When you use statistical data, you go overcount one area. Usa knows he supported them. You undercount one area. Most of the challenges they now will get in this parliament now because of that. Because we'll look into 2014. Of course, inside 2014, as you don't at this studio for at least 10 times with the challenge the census, will not be even know whether they win elections. Today not the problem down there. If you go inside the box in 2018, SLPP, where you count the parliamentary vote, they had 955 parliamentary votes. APC get 967 parliamentary votes. The difference is 12,000. But the difference in parliament is 20 seats. And 12,000 is just one seat. So as Sierra Leoneans, it always fine for law look at anything and the law creates a level playing field for everybody. Now the other one
All right, before we look at the other one there, Mr. Lavalie, in this EU, they follow up, I believe, say them talk with different people in institutions. I see ACC they make comments, say they ask them, then go to them, Parliament, I believe, say then go to them, there's all man making position. We can't to CSOs, they be engaged now before these reports actually they come out now though.
Indeed, in EU engage with. The bottle we'll get with EU engagement is that the panel we missed it on. I can remember with the Kalde, Fatoma, Marcella then. Now only one of them questions with the inside the press release that was asked. We've now been on the gender, we discussed the gender extensively, but on the trust, on the census, it was not discussed. I don't know if they discussed them with the other stakeholders, but for that, it was not discussed.
Engagement saying that be engagement of CSOs.
That be engagement of civil society, yes.
So I'll take you back to the issue we make mention of earlier, we get for do it. What actually spark the debate after the reports been come out, we make mention of the significant decrease in trust in the institutions and the elections management body them where the follow-up mission been pulled. So for the IGR, Institutes for Governance Reform, the thing them them put there we get for do with the significant decrease within say the trust and the institutions here. On another thing say a reflective of the majority views of Sierra Leoneans.
Okay, so if you ask today many Sierra Leoneans whether they trust with justice system, there will be apprehensions, they would say no. If you ask many Sierra Leoneans whether they trust the police, they will say no. But when they make comments about, especially when we talk say significant decrease, you get for reference on a particular objectively verifiable document, for example. Like for example, we MCC the pull report, if they say citizens then get freedom of information, you know, that they're going to Freedom House and go get Freedom House data.
But the mission
let me finish, maybe. You understand that? But if you look at the trust in institutions, if you look at the 2018 elections, the Afrobarometer data they talk say, this is not an IGR collector, this was collected by CGG and the partners in 2018. 80.6% of Sierra Leoneans they talk say the elections was either completely fair or very fair but with minor issues. 80% of Sierra Leoneans. So then, in fact, we ask now 2020, 85% then talk say they prefer democracy to any form of government. Now that makes Sierra Leone no go ever turn to Guinea. Sierra Leone no go turn to Liberia. Because the Sierra Leoneans, they don't adopt, they don't embrace freedom, they embrace democracy. So if the trust in institutions, the institutions don't no more they control trust. If you conduct elections, then 80% they talk say, we believe the elections. They mean say, no, then rogue me. Over time, my supporters and they adopt that narrative. Whether or not that institution they act well or not act well, that narrative, the way you watch now in the opinion of some people, it will get problem. So the question is, let's say if me they do an observation, they are talk say, we are asked a lot of opposition parties. I think so one of the things that they really create the contestation. Now, when you ask a lot of opposition parties right now, there is contestations, they will not trust them.
So you want to say now the opposition parties, them the EU follow-up mission, they ask for this
particular
question?
If I look at the final report where they come, I believe say this was just a holding statement. In fact, where I look at the holding statement, we had cause for let us look at how EU be done they treat their missions then. If you look, hardly they actually publish holding statements. So I look at Ghana, I look at Gambia, the last visit, then we didn't do the. You actually see, say, this was the recommendation. This recommendation.
So now that make us say for IGR, when I don't do research them, when I don't talk to people them, this particular statement from the EU follow-up mission, not to true for say people them they lost us in the election management body. Yeah?
So for let IGR tell you say whether not to true or not.
Because you've been talk earlier say, it not mean say where you ask few people them, then say they don't lost us, mean say it actually don't lost us.
Exactly. So not so me and we not do yet a report, a survey with verify that. We got to do the next round of Afrobarometer by January. So I'm not going to be able to tell you say whether trust in institutions don't decline or not. What they do now, they borrow from the previous data, and I go borrow from 2020 and 2018 data, where they actually talk about trust in institutions. The point where they make, you cannot talk about trust in institutions without referencing data very.
But then say then talk to people then, because then say
exactly.
we are
So
told.
there's a difference
Women say
between
then talk to people
say.
then.
There's a difference between then say, and where you actually get, a systematic data where you collect. You understand that? I will get a view, and me where the kaya where they talk normally. I do not express my view when it comes to matters of research. I do express a view where you talk say this the collective field. So you sometimes you actually need for hold back, then view, then therefore let you actually look at data we objectively verifiable.
But data self now people can make them
Exactly.
information
So
from
in
data.
fact, so now make one thing maybe in research methods. If you do one research, you apply one method. Asthma do that same research, you apply one method. I do that same research. If we apply the same method, we will get the same result. Right. Because the method is scientific. So it's not about this person how they play with data. You get for interrogate the research method. We're going to make sure, say, Alec, you do 100 times. Now the same result you get.
An institution like EU, they don't ever do such reports ahead of elections in any country.
Of course.
All right, so let me look at the unprecedented when they say the midterm census B. And one person where I believe say they don't they work on this census. You don't can have many time for talk about how unprecedented this be according to EU.
Unprecedented actually means it not happen yet. So or something this is very high. The kind of height where they talk say current investment in education is unprecedented since election, since independence. So, but it doesn't mean it's bad. But you can take and say, no, it's unprecedented, it not happen yet. It doesn't mean it's bad. If finally we in a civil society and the partners, the way they look at Sierra Leone, don't appreciate the fact that Sierra Leone is actually polarized, Sierra Leone is divided. So, and the census, now one big, issue we need for look at where they play in this division. I'll go to normally what they call the politics of data. In 2015, not to me say, now start Sierra Leone and say, we then all look at the pilot census. The pilot census now we just say, not just look at a portrait of the census. 37% of that census was in error, the pilot census.
This unprecedented census they refer to, also supported by another international organization, right? But like body Salon. What are they support the census?
Not World Bank.
So if you think say if you're unprecedented World Bank,
World
Bank
Bank
support her?
No, definitely. World Bank gets clear reasons why they support the census. But I just want to establish one point first. So we know say most of the challenge we would get is actually a challenge of data. And we can see say political parties and want for use data for their own ends. And waiting to really not for allow. We not for allow let one part APC SLPP. We not for allow let any one party use the data to their advantage. So you go see say like if you say let hold on to let not do the midterm census, you know what that mean? That means say the current census where they benefit one group, let stay with them. If we say let do the midterm census, the one the way they afraid say then when I back then will tamper with the data, not for say them view wrong. So we get forget the middle ground. Now we they do the midterm census, we now make sure say the thing will be in 2014, 2015, it not happen. Right. So instead of just sitting back and critiquing the census, you actually get for kind of the room. Okay. And we really expect like opposition parties and civil society for come with a checklist where they show integrity of the data.
All right, we continue with the program. Good morning, Salon, where they come to you from 98.1 FM. We still get Lavalie from IGR this morning. They asked for talk about POT people think, but the elections management body who side they say they don't lost trust according to the EU follow-up mission statement. Now, whether or 2% people the EU talk to, the fact is they talk to people and at this now they people and they own waiting and say. And so going forward as a nation, now this we want for we NEC, for example, who say people not trust NEC or people not trust the police. What you need for be done now going forward?
I think say going forward, we get for acknowledge the fact say if we know all man not playing part, because not to just neck no more. If everybody not playing part, we go land who side will not go hunt for land. We don't see, for example, na Guinea, na Cote d'Ivoire, we don't see na Ethiopia, we don't see na Sudan, how elections they land the country. So we can see and say na joke, we can see and say na play. But then here they not keen, born good picking. We see say Salon war now one green person, nine when I been for this anchor, we been vexed past everybody. He said I just then jail me and not be satisfied. We went to war. So I think say it's also good for all understand the difficult situation with election management bodies and they work under. Because if we want for support them, we for know their circumstance. Even with the best of intent, ask me if they run election today, just say recruit 3,000 Sierra Leoneans there, fill them as polling agents. Then Sierra Leonean they get a party there. Would have gone for do this, would have gone for do that. So instead of you castigate the commission, you always find for let you describe what happened and let una solve them. So now I make, for example, when you look at Kwenadugu, it came out like saying a widespread violence in Kwenadugu. That was not the case. So violence happened at Kabbalah and violence happened in any chiefdom very close to Tonkolili border. But especially with social media now, it's been sensationalized. Inside Kabbalah town, na Songfo, small section inside Kabbalah town, now they happen. Where you go on any chiefdom inside Tonkolili border, Balia Mange, that's where the violence happened. If you not describe them better, security forces, NEC, they're not going to respond because what they do, they pay attention to this sensationalization, and so often where they do anything, it's more about scoring political points than actually describing the situation for letting them solve the problem.
So that instance, the way the EU follow-up mission make mention of insider and reports, not enough for letting talk say the NTR some amounts to losing trust in the electoral management body. Yeah?
Exactly, because for example, if you watch, when we watch, like for example, the PPRC chair, Abdullahi Bangura, he has been, apart from Tola Thompson, he has been the most progressive chair. The last conference where he go, he did talk at the tweet. He say, anybody will get government position, you take party position. EU don't support election management bodies. They don't hold conferences there on them here. If you watch Kone came to office in 2020. The first test for him now be constituency 110. After constituency 110, there has been no problem. The only problem the only violence now in Kwenadugu. So instead of saying we sensationalize or for describe the problem and we'll get a conversation. I think say one of the problems, let me finish with one of the problems will lead to claims and counterclaims. Whether reports be non-commot, there will have been a process of letting them circle back to the EMBs, which they call exit interviews. So you go get exit interview to the EMB because you are supporting them. So you talk say, now this and this and this and this middle area, what do I feel about them? When they incorporate them, comment, and they, in fact, jointly now all the presenter, then they own up the problem. We don't publish a lot of reports like IGR. NEC, as at this year, then tell we say, in terms of ensuring that women then become elected, more women become elected, they don't just do 20%.
You refer that particular instance the way the EU use as being sensational when they do the reports of what's happen. So for government, the other day we've been getting Minister of Information here, in as much as the city go continue for engage with them, but government they call for evidence to issues them where the EU mission make into this report. The judiciary PRO be don't talk saying a lie then lie. The National Election Watch again be don't come here saying that the reality of things them where they happen at the country inside the report. For IGR, for be precise, now waiting on a position on them here.
Yeah, we position now we did actually look at procedures. So the procedure is now for that say we sit in a meeting and that meeting they now one thing we talk about the civil society when the gender laws, right? So we understand see there was another meeting with another civil society. We talk about all of them here, we until 9 really inform the report. So me feel say always there is a need for low get like in Gambia, in Ghana, within the European Union do then get a round table with all stakeholders there. they own up. If you look the conferences that we EU don't fund, the one where I attend on NEC and the one where I attend on PPRC, you see APC and SLPP, they actually agree. Say, we know, say this now problem, let's solve them. So when you watch Dentina now, you see, say, like one part of the political divide, the whole am wrong.
You call for procedures. Is it that una not satisfied with the procedure we then follow for gather the information as IGR?
It's the procedure where a mission they follow for evaluate something. The procedure, especially this is not intergovernmental relationship. The EU, it represents European Union government, the government of Sierra Leone. They all two, they jointly actually can't talk, say, they support you, but not this.
So now the first and this way IGR report and see way they inside this report, on not be done the report them.
Like waiting.
The issues them we then raise.
Like which issue?
The issue we got for do with trust and the EMBs here, the thing that they happen in elections.
Trust.
We don't the civil society organizations. We don't they come out with land. We don't they come out with same thing that we then repeat.
Maybe
concerns them from
citizens. So doesn't mean now so people. Wait, maybe let me correct you.
No, not to correct. What they say? Local civil society
exactly.
themselves.
Maybe let me say.
We don't they raise. You not ever hear them.
Maybe wait. When you say people and say
civil society organizations.
Okay, when you say civil society and people, when you say people and say. And it different from what they talk say now. So Andrew say, you understand? When they talk, let me finish. When they talk in statistical terms, when you talk say now these Sierra Leoneans they say, you understand? You forget a rounded view of how Sierra Leoneans they say. If you talk to one section of the population, we agree about something, you reflect in the report, you don't go say now so people and say, right? So the question is, if anybody can sit down and they argue, say, we police perfect, this perfect, you are wrong, right? In fact, next week we publish a report, a video documentary on ending bribery for traffic offenses. We don't go right all around for let's see, waiting at the money of people that they give police officers. Every day they see, we get for look at anything and they, but when they look at something we're politically sensitive, you get to look at all sides of the political divide.
So they don't look at all sides. We don't make a lot of changes.
We don't make a lot of changes. With the democracy, we don't vote quite a lot. But waiting they be, they see a change in people and circumstance. That same stonebreaker we been there 10 years ago, Mabel, is the same stonebreaker today. That same farmer we been there 15 years ago is the same farmer. The only way we'll go do that one, then I will make APC, SLPP, they're accountable. And you cannot promote accountability by saying, no, this wrong, this. Right now, there should be reflection within APC. Why were you voted out in the first place? There should be reflection.
So the issue now is,
what can you do differently?
The issue here is, the issues here where the EU mission raise, are they not critical? Now that's what they ask. If una not ever hear about them, like they knew.
Every day we do surveys on trust.
It show otherwise.
May I tell you now, maybe sometimes not be a real start. In 2020, 64% of Sierra Leoneans.
That's not on our own report.
No, not on your report.
No,
listen to me.
Now the EU with the talk about.
Mabel, I know say you don't take the EU report, but just listen to me, please, yeah? If 64% of Sierra Leoneans objectively verifiable, then go district by district, 64%. This is not my data. Not take and say this is IGR data. This is not my data. This is Afrobarometer. In fact, this was conducted.
So why you seem for take down the instead
because it is scientific.
The EU, so the EU you're not scientific.
They talk to both opposition. The one way they support opposition. The one way they support opposition.
So the EU you're now one-sided.
Oh, Mabel, allow me for last say which.
No, you say that one the way they make mention of where according to you is scientific proven.
Of course.
So the EU you're now one-sided, not scientific proven.
Because, like for example, like in my own case, I don't know how many times you all repeat this. The conversation we'll get with the European Union will not talk nothing about trust. Will not talk nothing about census. Me not go sit down, you talk about census, and not tell you say the midterm census is justifiable. So if they be talked to with, for example, about the census, if I don't give them feedback, this is the point I'm struggling to put across.
But not to no more than talk to.
Exactly. So if you talk, say you don't talk, and the civil society forum that I sat in, we include CGG, we include CAL, include 50-50. We'll not talk about anything in there.
All right, Mr. Lavalie, I just now ask you earlier again on the way forward to this, because like we say, we go discuss this from here to Jericho. Everybody gets your own perception and views about this whole the whole report. But the status of the AMBs there, anyhow it be, now NEC get for conduct elections. Anyhow it be, now the police get for police the state. So going forward with their report here, as waiting if you for advise government, wait all their bodies there, so waiting need for be done now.
They're all government, European Union, they're all. And in the first place, on the part of European Union, I think they therefore don't do better by reflecting all of the views. All of them are not for don't be. And even finally any citizen well-meaning for talk say, then judiciary, then why they not get problems. They all have their problems. But if finally we say, let we agree on one thing. For say with democracy, they actually translate voting into welfare for people. You know what happen? This might be sensitive, but let me say it. We don't live in the country where you see is I be the watch when I just play just on Prince Harding's story. These are young people and within the fete. You see what they go through. We watch the young people that within the BN Samora Kamara. 99% of them are unemployed. Where you go to SLPP office, go to APC office, young people, 99% unemployed. When you watch Sierra Leoneans, every day the thing will fixated about how do you do this, how do you do that. The two groups, you get Lebanese then, you get like Indians, for example, and you talk, say, we not mix part in politics. Let us control the economy. They control the economy. In fact, right now, sir, a lot of Sierra Leoneans, if you want land, like La Freetown, you get for go to them for letting you land. The Tonkolili Sidon Pantap over billions of dollars of iron ore. Moyamba we Sidon Pantap over millions of dollars of rutile. We forget conversation. All the conversation while the arena Sierra Leone, now would they vote for this councillor? Would they vote for this councillor? Would they vote for this MP? It's sickening. It's sickening. So it's not just about this EU report. I think that we actually need for fix with politics. Now that one day Namion get to take away. We actually need for fix with politics. Waiting every day with the report na salon, now 1 day in 5 years.
Right.
Polling day. We need to talk about how they govern with extractives. We need to talk about how they govern with human development. We need to talk about how they govern. Sorry.
And we still get Andrew Lavalie in the program. Andrew, let we shift a bit and now look at another side of other reports we just come out, where now the MCC reports for let you briefly comment on. At least half of all the indicators them the country pass, including corruption, democratic rights, and the rule of law. And this, we all know what it means. If country then pass the indications, then the particular, the control of corruption, the rule of law. As we all know, the MCC really they focus on economic freedom, justice, and how for country they invest in the people. What's in this mean now with this latest report we come out from the MCC?
Yes, so I think what's interesting about this, I'm way in relation to earlier conversations, where you they take objectively verifiable document, where they take document with scientific for measure this country. I think it's always good. In fact, it's always good for as a people. Would demand that anybody where they can actually assess Sierra Leone, they assess it on the basis of a data that is objective, not to a data way like that Lavalie say. So you see, say for example, the South at Sierra Leone they do well, for example, education, investment in girl education. So you see, say this, they even argue because 22% of our domestic revenue now they go into education. If you look at civil liberties and political rights, we can always pass them in the the two way good. We don't get successive presidents, for example, President Kaba. He talks, as long as nobody not fed, nobody not gonna push, let them sing. They be so critical of her. When President Nkrumah kind of power, you see, say, the jail journalist. So the thing the way, who they talk, on the APC, we critical of her. One day, I not get a sudden knock at me door at night. President Bio don't come, he don't repeal the seditious libel law. So you see, say, how the country, they make progress. You actually see how, with the tick that score they on civil liberties, it they make sure you make progress. So in relation like to earlier conversation, get isolated incidents. Then you talk, say, we don't decline in civil liberties, because every morning, people in the kind of radio democracy, of course, you can see we they get a small attack there on social media. But Sierra Leoneans, the things that I say now, the things that I've been saying, if you talk in 20, 30 years, you will be gone. So now that make this MCC really important. Some people like normally focus on the money. So no, this is a qualified way for get money. But not even imagine say you don't get money. For the mere fact that you talk say corruption they reduce in your country. Corruption, and don't get me wrong. Not that corruption not there. You get corruption. In fact, MCC they measure levels of corruption. They measure control of corruption. You understand that? You get control of corruption indicators the way they measure. So if at all you get documents where they look at anything and they inspire faith in the system. So what you need for do now for focus on the side that we need to do well. This is not the first time I don't see, like for the past 2 months, civil society and parliament then come together, they sign a joint communique on how parliament can work with civil society. Like CAR report, Campaign for Good Governance report, IGR report. All those are resources with parliament they use. But too often, now more of contestation between we and institution, contestation, attack between we and them. And waiting to happen, it close the opportunity for actually the institution then they use the resources civil society get for them progress. If parliament want go oversee mines and minerals, one of the biggest highways they give their resources for mines and minerals, now the civil society network, national network on extractives. So I believe say where you get this, and we can say, kudos to everybody, and the civil society with the pressure government for their achievements they have been done. And even governments back where they get receptivity, say, Lord, listen to them one day. Because that's democracy. Then contestation, what they get. Yes,
so with then you talk about so contestation where on the get when then TIA can happen. Putting these two reports them at the table, the MCC and the EU follow-up mission their reports. You seem for gladly accept the one we come from the MCC, where show say the country perform well, and seem for they put question mark or the one way come out from the EU. We also then say give them presentation as then things they appear from waiting then say then gather where they come.
That's very interesting. And I like the way they try for pigeonhole for saying that this and this. Don't pigeonhole me. Let me tell you.
No, we just don't do the two presentations.
No, let me tell you. So you get the EU waiting Bokuti EU state might be right. You see the problem why they struggle for state is a matter of procedure. It's a matter of methodology. If the MCC been say, for example, Salono invested in education, then Mark will read, I for don't argue him. If the MCC, for example, they say civil liberties not right, then I will just go to the Freedom House report. I will argue him. But if you put a report where they say, now that then tell me, if I don't just say yes, no, let's say, for example, if they be just write in the report, say, we will talk to some CSOs and some opposition. This is what they said. You see, say nobody, because it's called true. You don't talk about Boku and say, you don't get CSOs and we don't come, we don't talk nowadays. You understand that? But when you put them, it appears if that is the national picture, which we not the problem.
How you position IGR position different from that of government in this case? Because government have the call for letting give proof of
there are many issues. There are many, just like for example, there are many times where radio democracy position can be opposition position. There are times where radio democracy position can be government position. You understand that? There are times where IGR position can be opposition position. IGR are the only institution on record where they not arena parliament. Under this, where State House they actually call it the attack. So that argument, like for example, for pigeonhole, I don't think say if for even arise. If I not look at this, no, definitely. But if
relating to the issues where they come out of the discussion,
when you ask question with the idea for understand, a different way they ask question with the idea for question. I think say they ask question with the idea for question. If you have to understand, let's talk the document.
And they ask questions for get answers.
Definitely, not with the idea to understand, but with the idea to question.
Mr. Lavalie, yes. Back to what I be ask you with regards the report here. So this report will come out. Then if my memory serve me right, over 10 years, London they struggle with
MCC.
regards MCC. You talk earlier, and I say sometimes not about the money where they come, not about how the people they live in the country, but also the for let's say alone qualify and get is very important also. And we see side like where we don't talk the freedom of information gets over 90%. We get other past system like primary education also 92%, control of corruption 83%, but also child health really deplorable in this report to sign at 17%. So as a nation, waiting need for be done in terms of this. So say at least it will come up in reports like the MCC report, because it's really low for the when you talk about child health in the country.
In fact, one indicator where if we will hit almost all of the indicators now in our government effectiveness. So government effectiveness get boku thing where they look into. So if you get that one day, you will actually hit quite a number of indicators. So now that make like whilst it's useful to celebrate this year, the question we for ask yourself now by next year, what do you need for do, like for example, glad we mentioned child health. This one it really they in line like with the service delivery index where they look at health and education. The SDI shows say we look at deployment of healthcare workers. Now only 22% of healthcare workers deployed. In fact, the more remote you go, the more you define it difficult for get healthcare workers. So this the indicator where they talk about child health, you see say there is much more need for investment. So 30 days alone, not the meet in Abuja declaration investment, where they talk about 15% of investment of the money way together every year, now for invest in health. So if we put that money there in health, MCC, you get the minutiae where they look at in terms of child health. How do you improve health in schools? The time where they go school, where they primary school, it's not like say we can get free health care in a school. As long as you're inside your uniform, you go to dispensary, you go take, when they say you know well, then where you go take your treatment, you turn back. So I think say fine for law return back to their investment, and they will say citizens, government actually invest in picking the health, not just under 5 and lactating mothers, but picking them when they above 5. How do you invest in them? The nearest clinic, and they actually go get medicine, because that should be the broader part of Sierra Leone in human capital portfolio.
All right. They bring you to we first material we use. We say the civil society platform on non-violence make a position for look at violence ahead of the 2023 elections. I believe say you're part of this year's.
Obviously.
And also earlier again, I'm gonna come together another CSOs again for look at helping with things that the people that need them for help governments when people know about it some week ago. Now with all this violence there, no go call them isolated, but violence not violence, and if it disrupts a whole process, then it becomes alarming. So waiting now they do as CSOs for engage citizens them on the kind of issues there, so we camper violence as we approach 2023.
Okay, so we'll be meet to be discussed quite a lot of things around structures. In fact, all the organizations will they meet, then talk say we all get for maintain with independence. So IGR get for be IGR, Fambo Talk get for be Fambo Talk, but we they come together at the time where the country need we for law serve the handy, and we they get a structure at district level, if possible, chiefdom level, and up to national level for support institutions, not just government, how for handle issues of violence. We don't see say asthma at this country are always the top of violence, they say APC and SLPP. But asthma and maybe are picking and no go first. We don't fail for realize the role of families in violence. Maybe picking no go first, obviously. A lot of people really listen to me, then picking and no first. We not one day come together for law see how do we make violence unattractive for families. So how do we make young people go sit on a radio, go listen to people then, waiting and they talk for let you vote on the basis of that. you know what? We do some work for UNDP, and we will look one of the breeding grounds for violence, like 5-5 na Watalo. Then they actually go na Watalo. This group go take. This group go take. It's a lot go na Tonkolimba. By election, they go fet. The thing is, then young people, the way they go, they are unemployed. And where violence can happen, there are no repercussions. We don't see now violence they happen, like for example, like Nabo. Then they go talk, then government actually commission an inquiry. That commission of inquiry, they come out buff. Nothing, they see. So I believe, say, instead of just speaking to APC, SLPP, civil society can actually engage households, it can engage families, and they can contribute for minimizing violence.
Program Good Morning Salon, they continue. We come back to our studio guest, Wayne and Lavalie, the Executive Director for IGR. They are this morning with the talk about what it mean if people them lost trust in institutions, then we suppose for handle elections. Let me go back to that issue that we get for do it that report will be discussed on. At this stage, waiting will be IGR advice to institutions them when they indict that reports the ahead of the 2023 elections.
Okay, so I think the final law waits for the final report because this was in a holding statement. So following all of them feedback there, merely advice, in fact, not for say like a day against within EU. They say the question we had on the raise and continue to raise is really as a matter of procedure. And if we not follow procedure, we will even end up sensationalizing in a context that is heavily polarized. So that I know more the advice. So two things. One, we not for allow any government or any group of people to for election. So in fact, Nadande Salon don't they stand against from time to time. The more we do that, the more we democracy is strong. And again, we not for allow any external body they dictate like the content of a democracy. Down the back, very important. You see, say way Solomon Bera lost election in 2007. He said, no, this is a regime change, an international community. We Samora Kamara lost election. I've been watching tape. He says it's not a regime change. So all of the players then, it be government, it be NEC, it be internationals, with democracy could only be strong, we would take time for ensure say the people in they actually they decide and all that decision they actually reflect their wishes. The other thing we find for emphasize is that even with the best of intent, as my Mabel, it's difficult for run free and fair election as alone. Why? Because the political party there, they all want for drag the election in their own favor. So even Asma, if Naina next chairman today, they say let you take 12,000 people. The moment you don't deploy that one, then the party the way they're loyal to, then can have to push the things in their favor. NEC can do integrity checks on most of them, but some they can still through. If we support the institution, it be police, so it be NECO, if finally they carve out, say, now this problem we don't find out now, yeah. Let we discuss that problem and solve them, rather than you box them all and tar them with the same brush. They're not going to feel supported. In such a case, you actually put them back up. The other thing, civil society, you always find a lot of measure, like we in IGR, we know the measure we serve by number of radio appearances we don't do or number of reports we publish. We always measure we serve by the number of recommendations with government or institutions that they take on board. So if finally civil society law actually improve on with act and ensuring that we are actually supporting institutions for daily and deliver rather than with I think say I could just want for maybe just wrap up say with one statement. For say we don't reach a point where Salomon they believe say not only your brother or your sister where they in power now you go better. Over the past 6 years, that's what we believe now. It's really seeking because we don't, in fact, with the Polar research, we work with the University of Chicago now. We don't track appointments since independence by chip down by this, watch the space. And we don't say that idea for say, where your brother can have power now the better, then communities and they are left worse off. So me feel say this poverty, for law end this poverty, if find where people and they APC, SLTP, all good, but waiting good, now for law make sure say the institutions and function effectively. I think say that I can end with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrew Lavalie, in the Executive Director for Institute for Governance Reform. Many thanks to the production team, Michael Sambola and Alex Lawrence Koroma. We produced the program, and also DJ Lava and Moses Kevoa for where they help with technical. Well, stay tuned at 12 this afternoon for midday show, at 7 for We National News, and throughout the day for more interesting programs then. Mina Asma James, they wish you all the best.
And Mabel Kabade say goodbye.